So a friend recently gave me a couple of slices of pound cake, and I thought, well, when I get home, I am going to add some strawberries and whipped cream. It's going to be so good. But I gave it a little taste first, and I thought, oh no, I am not going to ruin this beautiful pound cake with strawberries and whipped cream, if you can believe that. That's how good it is. It reminded me of my grandmother's recipe when I was young. So I asked her for her recipe, and this was her grandma Bowman's recipe for her pound cake, and it is just delicious. What makes it different is that you put it in a cold oven and then you turn on your heat. So you do not preheat your oven, and what that does is it really makes a nice caramelized crust on there. And sometimes pound cake can get a little dry and have that dark brown crust on it. I don't like that. This is the perfect pound cake. So this is Grandma Bowman, and this is her recipe. I will also include it down below the video in the description area. I changed a couple of things because I did not have shortening. I'm adding a little bit of salt. I think I used cake flour instead of all-purpose flour, but I do think Grandma Bowman's recipe is probably better because my friend's cake was better, I think, than mine. But at any rate, let's get started here. So I am going to start by preparing my pan, which is my least favorite job of making a cake. So I am taking a shortcut by using a spray with flour and oil in it. I think it's called Baker's Secret. And then I also like to line my pan with either parchment paper or maybe butcher's paper, something that's food safe. So I'm going to use the zest of one of my lemons, and I'll add it to about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And you can certainly change up your flavorings if you like, but this is the one I'm going with this time. And so for the other ingredients, we will need 2 sticks of unsalted butter at room temperature, 4 eggs, mine are also at room temperature, a half a cup of sour cream, and then of course the vanilla and lemon zest, and then just a pinch of salt, a cup of whole milk. I'm using cake flour, sifted instead of the all-purpose flour, and then granulated sugar. So we'll start by beating the softened butter, and I'll add all of the sugar to that, and then add the sour cream. Now, after I've added the sour cream, I'll need to beat this probably about 4 minutes, and I'm looking for it to get a nice pale color and real creamy. So that's what you want to look for. 4 minutes doesn't sound long, but when you're using a hand mixer, it is. So just be patient and make sure you get to that pale yellow color until it's nice and creamy. And now it's time for the eggs. We'll add them one at a time, and I will beat it after every addition of an egg. And now it's time to add the flour and the milk. So we'll start with 1/3 of the flour and then half a cup of milk. And I'll just gently fold this in and make sure I wet all of the ingredients. And then we'll go in with another 1/3 of the flour and the remaining half cup of milk. And again, I will just gently stir it in, making sure to wet all of the ingredients. And then end with the rest of the flour and mix that in. We'll also mix in the vanilla and the lemon zest and get that kind of worked in. And now I'm going to use my hand mixer. I'll go in for about another 15 seconds, being very careful not to overmix the batter. And now I can just spoon it into the pan. The bowl is very heavy. It's a lot of batter, very dense. It's just easier sometimes to spoon it in there. And then just a little sprinkle of salt on top. I also put a little sprinkle on the bottom before I added the cake batter. And because my oven cooks unevenly, sometimes I'll just wrap the outside with some tin foil. So into the oven, the cold oven it goes. We'll set the temperature to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, cook it for 1 hour, and then turn the temperature up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and cook for another 15 to 20 minutes, or until your skewer comes out clean. And if your cake is done, let it cool in the pan for about 30 minutes. And now we can remove it, take away the parchment paper, and I like to wrap it in a tea towel and let it sit on the counter overnight. Of course, you can go ahead and dig in right out of the oven. I like to freeze my pound cake, which I will share with you in another video, because sometimes it's fun just to pull out a wedge of it and take off a sliver ice cold out of the freezer. It's so good. It is nice and moist and not dried out, and it's just so good. So I hope you guys can give this a try soon. Think of Grandma Bowman when you do. Please share this recipe with others if you enjoy it as much as we have been enjoying it. Thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a beautiful day.